Hello, everybody. Thank you ever so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. So I did the postgraduate in broadcast journalism in 2014. And so only a few years ago, I was sat where you were. I remember doing a presentation in this room to loads of news eds for my coursework. And honestly, it was the best year of my life. So now I'm a broadcast journalist and producer at BBC Radio 5 Live. I work on 5 Live Drive, and I'm based in Salford at Media City. I don't know if you're doing any live tweeting today, but feel free to tweet along. Get my followers up. Is at Liam J. Smedley. Basically, part of my role at 5 Live Drive as a producer is we come up with stories for the show. We look at the news agenda for the day. So, for example, if Theresa May is doing a speech on Brexit, we can plan for that if it's in our time and organise speakers. For that, to speak to our presenters, who are Anna Foster and Tony Livesey. We're on Monday to Friday between 4 and 7. Our day obviously starts a lot earlier than that. So we get guests for the stories. We're looking for lighter stuff in between all the heavy news as well. I think the best way to describe our programme is news with personality. We write the scripts, record and edit audio, and of course brief Anna and Tony as well. But first, we'll kind of go back to the start, because I actually had a career before I came and did the course here. I was a wacky commercial radio presenter. SpongeBob, obviously on the Atkins diet there. So I started life at a station in Hull, which is my home station, called Viking FM, and I presented there on the Drive Time show, and there were a few other stations kind of in my commercial radio presenter lifetime as well that I ended up presenting on, like Kerrang Radio, for example. And I ended up at a station called Sun FM in Sunderland, doing the Drive Time show there as well, and doing stuff like that, hanging out with Peppa Pig and SpongeBob. And I almost became a little bit bored of just kind of playing songs and going, here's Rihanna, sounding great. And what the newsreaders were doing across the desk and doing all the news was actually a lot more interesting than what I was getting to do. And I wanted to be in the BBC, and I didn't really have that journalism experience. So everybody thought I'd gone mad. And at the end of 2013, I actually left my job there, had a staff job there, and I came here to do the postgraduate. So there's a few pictures from my time here. That's actually Journalism Week, which I think you only had a few months back. So that's me there with incredibly short hair, enjoying Journalism Week, when we did the online TV news show as well, Yorkshire Voice, and of course the obligatory visit to Calendar. And as I say, it was the best year of my life. I really enjoyed it. Well, I was about to say I'd love to do it all again, but I don't think I'd want to go through all that anxiety and stress again. However, just before I finished the course, actually, this moment's kind of become infamous. I was very, very lucky to actually get some experience on the Jeremy Vine show on BBC Radio 2, and went along to meet Jeremy later. This was all through Richard Horsman here, who I think you probably all know because of his contacts. And one of the producers got in touch with him one day and said, have you got a student who could potentially do a report for us? And it's my day off, and Richard texts me, and I presumed it would just be going to be a mic hold, really, and getting some audio, and I wouldn't feature at all, but I'd get to put on my CV that I'd worked for Radio 2. So I jumped at the chance. It actually turned out they wanted me to report from a roller coaster. Because the story was about a deer that had died at this theme park because it had jumped over the fence and the roller coaster had hit it. So they wanted me to kind of tell the story while on the roller coaster. And I won't play you all the 6 minutes, but 6 minutes of this did go out on Radio 2 with Jeremy Vine.
This is the first steep hill. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Ah! Ah! I'm back into a bit of the North Yorkshire countryside, bit of woodland we're going through right now.
There was actually some reporting in there as well, other than just screaming. But I was fortunate enough to meet Jeremy, actually, because as part of my work experience placement here at Leeds Trinity, I got to go to Newsbeat at Radio 1 and 1 Extra. And while I was there, I reintroduced myself to Jeremy and his producers, and I said, I'm just across the road from you. You might remember this roller coaster piece I did for you. And they were like, yeah, come meet Jeremy, which was lovely. So I managed to get this work experience placement. via a lady called Nomia Iqbal, who of course is also Leeds Trinity alumni. She came back, did a workshop with us, and said we'd love to have you all, but we've got a work experience placement going, and we had to do a little competition and come up with a story that you thought would suit Newsbeat and go and make it, and I was very, very fortunate to win that. Then after that, well, what happened after graduating? Well, Newsbeat came along again quite quickly soon, really, because after graduating, I got back in touch with Newsbeat in the January of 2015, and I said, I think I've got a story for you. I've sourced some figures, and I think I've got a really good case study, and it was actually about the amount of referrals, transgender referrals, for the amount of under 18-year-olds who were going to their GP and saying, I feel I'm in the wrong body. And that had, I think, increased fivefold by over 4 years. So I found this case study in my own time. I spent some time with this transgender charity in Leeds. I found this very willing case study, had all the stats, pitched it back to Newsbeat, and they went, that's great, we'll definitely have this story, would love that. You should come down and work on it, it's your story. So I got to go back and work on it with them, and that went out on Newsbeat, and also it got picked up by the BBC 6 o'clock news and the news channel as well. It was very, very strange watching Fiona Bruce on the 6 o'clock news reading out your story, saying figures sourced exclusively for Newsbeat, when it was me making a few calls in my bedroom. But although Newsbeat was lovely, had to kind of get back to reality, really, and make a living. So I freelanced for quite a while and worked between all these stations. So I freelanced news reading, reporting, producing for all the BBC local radio stations in Yorkshire and Lincolnshire, so BBC Radio Leeds, York, Sheffield, Humberside, my home station, Capital, Heart, Stray FM, Pulse, and Radio Air as well. I was actually at BBC Leeds full-time for 6 months as well. Well, after 7 BBC job interviews, and that's just the ones I actually got interviews for, not even the ones that I applied for, that's a bit of an in-reference to Alan Partridge, by the way. That's where he has his meeting with the head of the BBC and makes a total idiot of himself, which is what I felt I was doing in all these failed job interviews. Finally, I got offered a full-time contract, which is where I am now, at BBC Radio 5 Live, and I have to say, honestly, it's my dream job. I walk in every day to those doors at Media City, and I cannot believe I'm there. So I've been there since August last year. As I say, Tony Livesey and Anna Foster are our presenters, and if you've never heard 5 Live Drive, as I say, we are news with personality. I'm going to give you a taster as to what we do. I should explain that the story at the end is one of our favourite stories we've ever covered. So this audio is actually from a bit of a team building day, so it's kind of an in-joke at the end, but I'll let you in on it. We did a story about a sex-mad tortoise that had actually saved its species single-handedly because it had had so much sex. So that's what the story is at the end, but I'll leave you with what we do on 5 Live Drive.
It's 6 o'clock on 5 Live, and this is a news special. Good evening from Paris. I'm Anna Foster, outside the concert venue where 82 people were killed last night.
EU referendum result.
Yes, just after 1 o'clock on 5 Live. It's Anna Foster and Tony Livesey with you for the rest of the afternoon. I'm at Westminster, where the fallout from the referendum result is still reverberating.
And I'm in Redcar today, where there's shock at the news that the SSI steel plant is to be mothballed.
I'm in Carlisle today, where the weekend's floods have left feelings of anger, despondency, and in some cases, downright despair.
I don't even know if I can speak, because it's the second time we've gone through it.
I'm in Brussels tonight, where more than 30 people have been killed and hundreds more injured in Europe's latest terror atrocity.
This is BBC 5 Live.
And she's walking down Downing Street with her husband Philip, really just taking in the scene. She's very poised, she's very calm. She's looking down at the ground at moments and then up at this huge bank of cameras and reporters. She's smiling, she's really taking this moment in as she steps up to the lectern and prepares to speak to us as Prime Minister, Theresa May.
I have just been to Buckingham Palace, where Her Majesty the Queen has asked me to form a new government, and I accepted.
Now some breaking news to bring you. The Associated Press is reporting that the publicist of the US singer, the legendary superstar Prince, says the pop star's died at his home in Minnesota.
Its importance to the music industry just cannot be underestimated. One of the most naturally gifted performers of all time.
Tommy Owens is one of the Galapagos tortoise keepers at San Diego Zoo. Hello, Tommy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. This is quite a performance from Diego.
It really is, it really is. And it's something that hasn't been acknowledged is it's not just the 800 babies that he sired, but he then inspired the other males to become sexually active, and together that group of tortoises has sired and created over 2,000 babies, which have been released back on Hispaniola now.
Wow. So how long does it take?
What exactly?
You know, for the act. Is it with tortoises? Is it a long build-up, a long courting process, or is it all over in minutes?
Oh, for reproduction?
Yes.
Just minutes, but that will go on throughout the day on a daily basis during breeding season.
Okay. There we are. Thank you, Tommy. Tommy Owens there from San Diego. So Diego always comes out of his shell.
That was very thorough. Left
Well,
no stone unturned there.
No, well,
Sounds
I
like
like
Saturday
it.
night in the town centre, reproducing, dancing.
I imagine the act is over in seconds, but actually getting to the bedroom together might take a while if you're a tortoise. That's all. So getting up the stairs.
I'll be up in a bit.
Yeah. Are we there next week?
So yes, Five Live Drive, very good show. You should totally listen. Thank you very much.